I have found and lost 50 pounds a couple of times. And every time I did it, it was like, gripping to try and stay there because the protocol that I used to get there, I couldn't use to sustain it. One of the things that was great about the challenge was I didn't have to think about what I wasn't eating because it was the 2 days of dry fasting, 2 days of water fasting, then a day of raw. So that eliminated a whole bunch of things. And so it helped me to focus. I didn't come in thinking, I'm going to lose an enormous amount of weight because it has been slow for me over time. I'm postmenopausal, but overall I lost 25 pounds.
Wow.
That was huge. And just being in the challenge and, every time I got on scale, I was like, what? I didn't post my numbers on the chat because I didn't expect it. And I didn't really know what to do with it. She said, I didn't recognize you. I saw your dog. And so I knew that was you. And I said the same thing. I was like, I didn't recognize you. So we're catching up. And somehow it came up how we each lost weight. And we both said fasting. And I was like, girl, you know my AHA. And so we just started talking about that. So I'm like rekindling community.
Yeah, that's what you want. If you can get a couple of your friends to buy into it, it makes it so much easier. I am Chris James. You're watching Happy Alternative, and today we have a very special guest because Selena is here to tell a little bit about her health journey, what she experienced through the challenge recently. We're excited to get into all those nitty-gritty details. So if you're interested in hearing her story, it's coming up next. So, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Glad to be here, Chris.
It is a pleasure to have you. First thing I want to ask was just a little bit about your history. Like, how long have you been with AHA and what kind of drew you to us, or what were you looking for?
Part of my background is that I've been doing intermittent fasting for a number of years. And I would say maybe 6 years, and hadn't really experienced any weight loss. I've experienced improved outcomes in terms of my health, but honestly, what I learned this year was that I wasn't fasting long enough. I was kind of a minimalist, that 14 hours should be enough. And it wasn't for my body. And so I started looking for other protocols at the beginning of the year. And along the way, I heard about dry fasting. And I started, doing a YouTube search. And then that's where you all came up. And I just learned so much. And I was like, I don't know if I can do it, but I think I want to. So that came along in April, and then that was, I think you all were doing the DR46 or something around then. And I was like, ooh, that's a lot to jump into. So I just kind of watched people move. And then I heard about the free community that you all have. And so I joined that and started, joining some of the pack calls to just hear people's stories in real time. And then from there, I heard about the DR48 Advanced challenge. And I said, I think I'm ready. I think I want to try.
So first of all, I don't know if you know this, but that was our first dry fasting challenge. I talked about it before, I taught it years ago, but I never put it in the challenge format because I thought a lot of people would be intimidated. And then turns out that was the biggest challenge we ever did. People were really interested to do it. But there was a few people that was like, Chris, that sounds like too much. Maybe a little shorter dry fast would be a little bit up my speed. So I cut the dry fasting in half, but I added, as you already know, I added some extra elements to it to give you a similar experience. And I guess that's what we'll kind of get into now. So you ended up joining and you did the DR48 Advanced. I'm assuming this is the first time you've done a fasting challenge. What was your experience like?
Yeah, this was my first challenge. Like I said, I've been doing different kinds of fasting on my own, and I was attracted to doing this with other people and having some guidance instead of just kind of cherry picking what I wanted to do and what I didn't want to do. So when I signed up, I said, yeah, I want to, I will follow the protocol. And so two of the reasons I joined was because I know how to fast. I learned how to do deeper fasting. But I didn't know how to prep, and I didn't know how to refeed. My challenge is I eat well, but I eat a lot, and I go at it. And so I said, okay, I want to be in a group and get some information about how to return to life after this time bound challenge. And so those were the things that attracted me. And then when I got into the community, it was just so welcoming and just everybody was just really like into it. And I was like, good, okay. I don't have to explain what I'm doing. I don't have to say, you're doing what? And is that safe? I didn't have to deal with that. They were just people who were already
Yeah.
in. And I was grateful for that. And was it and there was so much more, with the coaching and just all of like just the elements of life, like just the spiritual aspect, the learning about nutrition, the community, all of those things just really fed my spirit. And the dry fasting, speaking of spirit, I remember you mentioned that, when during the intro about how it could be like a really spiritual experience to do the dry fasting. And it really was for me, just really deepening my spiritual practice and my awareness and just kind of letting things go that didn't matter. Like I had just a new experience with that. And that wasn't what I expected. I expected to lose a little bit of weight and learn some things, but I got so much more out of the challenge.
Yeah, that's beautiful. So like I tell people all the time, my goal, I reel people in with the weight loss, which, everybody's not looking for weight loss, but a lot of people are. I reel them in with the weight loss. And then when you get in the community, you're like, oh my God, like this is way more than weight loss. I had a guy on the show who recently talked, well, his show hasn't aired yet, but he talked about the challenge and he talked about how he joined so that he could kill his appetite, like his craving, his processed food cravings, I'll say. And he was able to accomplish that through the challenge. And that's a thing that really people struggle with when it comes to weight. I know you mentioned you eat good, but you eat a lot. So when it comes to like either cravings or overeating, things like that's a big hurdle for a lot of people. It's been a little bit since we actually ended the challenge, and I'm getting a little ahead of myself, but do you think that you've seen some improvement with the overeating?
I have. I have. One of the things that was great about the challenge was that it was like I didn't have to think about what I wasn't eating because it was the 2 days of dry fasting, 2 days of water fasting, then a day of raw. So that like eliminated a whole bunch of things. And so it helped me to focus on like, okay, I was never like a raw anything. I didn't have any labels for what I did. I like to eat real food. That's like my thing. And so, so raw just with the recipes that were posted and just the way people were, posting their meals and things, it was just really encouraging to stay with raw. So, and then the juicing too. I love juicing. I'll spend a whole day juicing with my partner.
Yeah.
And with that, like that has continued. We're several weeks out now, and I think the first time I had anything cooked was about a week and a half ago, and and it was just a little bit. It was still fruits and vegetables, but I just like the way my body feels when I'm eating real food, and I didn't expect that. I didn't. I was just real excited about that, and so I'm continuing to do that, and I don't see myself stopping anytime soon. Like I don't have a time limit on eating raw, being raw forward. That's what I call myself because that's my goal. And if I eat something cooked, I'm not going to kick myself.
Right.
But just kind of keeping the fruits and vegetables for first and foremost. And in the water fast, like you talked about charging your water and making it more bioavailable. That really made a difference for me. And so I've been being hydrated. I've been adjacent to being hydrated, but during the challenge, I really took on the gallon a day during those times. And that really helped me to complete the challenge. And I'm continuing to do that.
Wow. Wow. Such a really good experience. Um, I think a lot of times people they'll join the challenge. Like I said, they might be very focused on just weight loss. They don't really allow themselves to be immersed in the process and be open to everything. And they miss out on so much. And I think it actually makes the process a lot harder because if you're focused purely on weight loss and you have an idea of what that weight loss is going to look like, if you don't see that weight loss, then you get discouraged. So it's really important to like look at the big picture because I think what you mentioned really is like lifestyle change. You've now adopted more raw eating. It feels seamless for you, which is perfect because when, if I'm a meat eater and I eat pizza and ice cream every day and you tell me I got to go raw, I'm going to go kicking and screaming, you know? But if you want to do it because you're like, oh, I like how I feel and the food is like when I very first started doing raw, I was like, oh, the food is so flavorful, right? Like it's just bursting with flavor. Okay, so let's rewind a little bit and let's look at maybe what your experience was like in the challenge. I don't know if you like have your weight loss numbers or like any of the significant things. If you can maybe pinpoint maybe when certain things happen, what you were experiencing, because you mentioned that you had like a spiritual connectedness with your dry fasting. Just kind of walk us through those kind of elements.
Mm. I know for me, I like with the prep week, I was a little slow to like I didn't actually, to be honest, I didn't realize like, oh, we're actually doing something specific during the prep week. I was just kind of hanging out and waiting for the challenge to start, you know.
Yeah.
And then what actually happened though when I kind of caught on like maybe Wednesday that
Mhm.
first week, and I was like, okay, let me kind of ramp up and do the things. And from there, that first week, I experienced like a release of, I wish I had the numbers right here in front of me, but a release of about 4 pounds during
Mm.
during the prep week. And what I experienced overall, and you know, you're talking a little bit about weight loss. I didn't come in thinking, oh, I'm going to lose an enormous amount of weight because it has been slow for me over time. Like I'm postmenopausal, and I believed all the stuff they told me about postmenopausal, that it was going to be hard and you know take your time and you know all the things, right? And trying to be healthy, whatever that meant. Um, and so I didn't have like high expectations for weight loss, but overall, I lost 25 pounds.
Wow.
That was huge. And one of the things, you know, you suggested going in was, you know, like take it easy on your workout. One of the I've been like loving working out for a long time. So I do strength training, I do yoga, walking, those things, but I wasn't experiencing any weight loss.
Mm.
I was still like puffy and, you know, just felt like I described it as I felt like a stuffed sausage. Like I just was like my skin was tight. I was just bigger than I wanted to be.
Mm.
And so, and I thought all of that was, well, I'm getting older and, you know, hormones, this and
Yeah,
that.
yeah. That's what they
It's
tell
just,
you.
that's just what I should expect.
Right.
So letting that go and just being in the challenge. And, you know, every time I got on the scale, I was like, what? You know, I didn't post my numbers on the chat because I was like, that's not, I didn't expect it. And I didn't really know what to do with it. And so I just kind of
Mm.
kept writing it down. I kept my written journal the whole
Okay.
time. I just was really surprised.
That's great. What a and you know it's interesting too about your stories. Like you said you're familiar with fasting. You've been doing fasting. And it's interesting because I'm sure I did a video on this topic where I talked about like intermittent fasting and how the popular thing is to do, you know, maybe what, 16 hours of fasting. And um the way I look at that is more for maintenance. So what you probably were doing, which was good for yourself, was you were keeping yourself maintained. You weren't ballooning up because oftentimes, you know, people just, especially as they get older, I mean, 3 pounds a year is normal. Like that's just normal. And so you could definitely like mitigate that, but it's like you got to push your fasting a little bit longer. So I always recommend to fast for at least 18 hours. That's like my minimum recommendation for fasting. And there's a lot of reasons why. But you know, at least you'll probably see a little progress with the weight loss. And you know, yeah, you get a lot of other benefits we already know. But so one of the things that I like to talk about as it relates to our challenges is the community and how the community is what I would consider like the sixth man. Like they're the sixth coach. Like they just, you know, what was your experience like? Did you meet any people in your area? Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah. So what was really, I didn't, to answer that last question, I didn't meet anybody specifically in my area, but there were people who were on you know, on the DR48 challenge. They were on the app every day. And
Mm.
so there was like this community of posting and asking questions and encouraging each other, you know, and so that was not location specific, but it was definitely a space where it was just really affirming. So if somebody had, you know, somebody was having a hard time with, you know, the dry fast or what have you, we would just encourage each other. And then when it was time to drink, everybody was just so relieved to be able to drink some water, so we like celebrated those things together. And, there are a couple people that I'm still like, we've kind of come off of the challenge link and have been connecting via chat and whatnot, because we just want to keep encouraging each other. So
That's great. I mean, and it's interesting because like people have met, and I'm not saying like I expected you to meet somebody. I'm just saying the app or the platform allows you to meet people when you're like close to you. Um, and we've actually had groups of people, especially on the East Coast and the West Coast. They like get together and they like they go walks together. Like it's so cool, the community. And I personally think that I think you mentioned this earlier where when you're doing fasting and you're doing things that aren't super like accepted, like everybody's not doing it, they give you the weird, side eye, they say the weird things. Being in a community where it's like, yeah, I do that too. I just, for me, it's everything. Because when I very first started fasting, I was doing it with my brother. And without him, I don't know if I would have lasted as long. I was able to bounce off of him like, hey, I'm feeling this. Are you feeling this? And we learned a lot. So I always like to highlight
share a
that.
story that's similar, that's not challenge, but AHA larger. In my experience, just this past weekend, I was out walking my dog, and I heard somebody call my name, and I recognized the voice, and I turned around and I didn't see anybody I recognized. And it was my friend Tammy, who I haven't seen in a couple years. But she had, she said, I didn't recognize you. I saw your dog. And so I knew that was you. And I said the same thing. I was like, I didn't recognize you. So we're catching up and so on. And somehow it came up how we each lost weight, and we both said fasting. And I was like, oh yeah. I just finished a challenge. And she just said, yeah, I love the rolling 72s. And I was like, girl, you know my AHA. And so we just started talking about that. So I'm like rekindling community because
Wow.
we both experienced such significant, changes in our bodies and just the way we show up in life. And so, I'm just excited that we have that new connection as a result of AHA.
That's amazing. Like that's a first. I haven't heard that type of story before where, two friends don't recognize each other. But that's so cool because um my brother, I got so many brothers, I told you earlier, but one of my other brothers who went on this fasting journey, he started off at nearly 400 pounds. And then within maybe like 3 months, he got down, I think he lost like 150 pounds, 140 pounds, something like that. And he went to the gym. He was going to the gym pretty regularly throughout this process, but not necessarily every day because, as I recommend to kind of take it easy on the gym, and he was lifting heavy. So let's say maybe 3 weeks or a month goes by. He hasn't been at the gym, but he's still fasting, whatever. And he goes to the counter, and the dude at the counter stops him like, hey, look, you can't use somebody else's gym membership to get in. And my brother's like, that's me. And he's like, bro, that's not So fasting allows you to transform your body so quickly, which is, I love how you were talking about how you couldn't really, I don't know if you were saying you couldn't believe the numbers on the scale or you just didn't expect it, but that's, yeah, yeah. A lot of people think that the weight's not real, like the weight that you lose is not real. Can you talk about like how um, maybe how your clothes fit now, and do you feel like you just lost a whole bunch of water weight, or what do you think?
Oh, my body is different. And, this top is a top that I bought in 2008 and have not been able to fit. Like my weight has fluctuated over the years, and I haven't been able to wear this top for years. But I kept it in my closet because I love linen and I like it and everything like that. But I put it on today, and it's actually looser than it was when I bought it.
Mm.
My body is definitely experiencing transformation. And to kind of piggyback on your brother's story, like I said, I took some time away from my strength training. And so at the end of the fasting challenge, I went back, and this was after the significant weight loss, and people were like, what happened? You look great, and people are reluctant to say that because people don't want to comment on weight one way or
Right.
another. So they're like, wow, and like, some people were really like, you look fabulous. And, and my partner is the same way. He watched the progress, and he was like, every time we got together, he was like, I can see how your body's changing, and so definitely, and, I did the measurements too. And it was a little slow going at first. Like, I didn't really see it at first, but then I could see it in my clothes. Just again, like the way things fit. Most of the clothes in my closet now are too big. And, even like I said, this is something that's a holdover, like for the hopeful day that I'd be able to fit it again. So that
Right.
it's come and gone. Now it's loose.
You missed it. Oh, I love linen. You said it was linen?
Hmm.
I love linen. I fun fact. I was on Instagram and I've been talking about linen. Okay, you know how like when you talk around your phone, it records and it gives you advertisements, right? Based on that. So I was researching linen and I literally was like, what is linen made out of? Because like I never thought about it. Like I'm just linen. It's like cotton. No, it's like what is it made out of? Um, it's made out of a flax plant, like the flaxseed plant or whatever, which I thought was cool. But anyway, because I was doing that research, they sent me an ad for a bag. It's a refrigerator bag that you put your fruits and vegetables in, and it keeps them fresh for like 2, 3 weeks longer if you store it in linen.
Oh, wow. Wow.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
amazing. That
yeah.
makes me think about the frequency conversations that we,
It's the
just,
frequency.
yeah, it's,
Yeah.
there's so much to this.
I love that because it's like I can say that linen vibrates at, 5,000 or whatever the case may be, but it's like, what does that really mean? And I feel like that type of example really shows you like the fruits and vegetables stay healthier longer using linen. We should all be wearing linen, but it's very hard to find.
It is. It is. And when I do find it these days, it's usually mixed with something that's not linen. And so it
Mm.
reduces the value.
Oh,
It
for
makes it more
sure.
cost effective, but it reduces the value of linen, in my view.
Oh, 100%. Yeah, that's why they do it. That's what they do it. So, what was it like? I don't know who all you interacted with during this time, whether it was friends, your partner, but like what was it like from their perspective? Did you tell people? Were they worried about you? Like tell me a little bit from their perspective, what it was like.
Yeah, I got a variety of responses. Like, my sister was actually doing a fasting protocol with her church at the same time. And so we were kind of comparing notes, and I kept like just sending her little things. Hey, did you know about this? Or we want to try this and charge your water? And, you know, and so she was open to it, but she didn't have the community. So I felt bad. I was like, I feel like I'm pushing something that I can't support on my own. Um, and so she's looking to join a challenge in the future. I had other friends that are like healthcare practitioners from a variety of different backgrounds, and one of them had never heard of dry fasting. She's a nurse practitioner, and she works with people who have MS, and so she likes to be cutting edge, but she had never heard of dry fasting, and so she was like, "People do that?" And my quick response to her was that maybe not in Western culture, but the rest of the world is very familiar with dry
Yeah,
fasting in
for
terms of
sure.
a cultural practice. Um, and I have like an accountability partner who she's doing another type of, like kind of an anonymous program around maintaining her weight. And so she has protocols that she uses, and she was listening to me, and her response was, I don't think I could do that because
Mm.
she has other protocols. And I just said, just do the research for yourself. I sent her to the YouTube channel, and I said, just, I'm not saying you need to do it, but, information, like you said, knowledge, the application of knowledge is power, right? So, I was trying to live in that with her. So I had a variety of experiences with people, some being very skeptical, but most being encouraging and just curious, like, well, what do you
Mm.
do? I have one friend who I haven't seen in a while. She came over for lunch a couple weeks ago, and she has diabetes, and she had her reasons, like, I don't think I can do this. And again, I said, take a look at it talk about it with people you care about and whose opinion you respect, and see if it's for you. So
Mm.
she's kind of doing the back door where she's starting with the raw stuff. She's starting with the eating first before she's looking to do any kind of fasting. But, people are paying attention because it wasn't so gradual that you couldn't notice.
Right.
My weight gain was gradual like that, but the weight loss has been significant. So,
Yes. And I actually need to do a video about this, but like a lot of people talk about like gaining the weight back after. So they'll say, oh, you could do this challenge, you could lose 30 pounds, whatever, you're just going to gain all the weight back. And I think that my sentiment is, well, if you do anything, right? Like let's say if you work out every day for 6 months or a year, you're going to get toned, you're going to get, cardiovascular, you're going to look good. And then if you stop, your body's going to go back. So like that's with anything. Now, I think people are saying, oh, you're going to have to keep fasting in order to maintain it. What have you found as far as like maintenance goes? I know refeed was one of those things you were looking to understand better. So as you finished out this fast and everything, how has your maintenance been? How has I call it the fasting spring back, how much weight you gain back after you come off the fast? It all makes sense, but how's that been for you?
hmm yeah, for me, because fasting has been a lifestyle for me for a long time, I know, one, that that's the way I want to live my life. Just doing different kinds of fasts. That was why this challenge was really exciting for me, because we just wove our way through different types of fasts. And so now just my lifestyle is weaving those things in. So I will do a dry fast, like sometimes, like 2 weeks after the challenge ended, I redid the protocol just for that week.
Okay.
Because I was experiencing a little creep in terms of just, and for me, I know it was that I was eating more and my body had more in it to process that I was going to eliminate. So it's just that one of the things I enjoy about fasting that I never thought I would enjoy is that empty feeling.
Yeah.
I used to eat to not feel that way, to
Yeah.
not feel the growl, to not feel like I'm hungry, but actually having that body awareness of, yeah, I'm good with that empty feeling. It actually is giving me good information, and it's giving me space to think about other things going on in my body.
Hmm.
So that curiosity is continuing, and it's part of how I'm moving forward. Because like I said, it's a way of life for me now. And I just, I have days where I'll do, I'll eat or not eat, or even when I'm doing like alternate day fasting, I still do a fasting protocol. Like I'll still keep the window small.
Mm.
But one of the things that I've really realized with fasting is that the more I do it, the easier it gets.
Hmm.
Now, it might be hard, like if I'm out there with my friends who are going to Taco Bell or whatever, I mean, or whoever they're going to, something where somebody else is preparing a food. If I was doing that every day, I think it would be more difficult. But I've made the decision that this is how I want to live my life. So I'm trying to bring my friends into this as opposed to me going back out there.
Yeah, that's what you want. If you can get a couple of your friends to buy into it, it makes it so much easier. I think pretty much everybody around me, everybody fasts or has fasted and believes in fasting and believes in, being mindful about what you eat. So like when I go out with my friends, we choose, like it's a place where everyone can eat. One of my coaches, animated Mel, the goofy one. So he's one of my childhood friends. Well, we met when I was like 14 or when he was 14. Sorry. Anyway, we like meet the rest of my friends. We would eat McDonald's. We ate everything. There was no restriction. He always had a restricted diet. So we would go places, especially as we got older. Now we're like 19, 20, 21. We're working, we're going places, and he would just order fries because that was all that he could eat. And nobody really, I want to say we didn't care, but like that sounds harsh. But it's like we just weren't thinking about him, you know? He was just used to that. He was just like, that's what it always is. And then he actually challenged me to do a vegetarian month. He had been asking me for years, like, Chris, just do this is way before AHA. This is when I was unhealthy. He's the one that like challenged me. And that one vegetarian month turned into prepping for a fast. Like I didn't realize that that's where it was going to lead. And then that fast turned into 5 months of fasting and then alkaline food. And anyway, AHA's here, but now we all go to places that we can all eat, and it just makes things easier. Yeah.
Yeah. And one of the things I heard you say that I will say, if there's nothing that I can eat, I will just say I already ate. Now, already ate could have been yesterday or 2 days ago, but you know, I'm fine. I've already eaten. You all enjoy it. Like, and one of
Yeah.
the things that I feel like it's a gift for me is that I enjoy watching people eat. I'm like, ooh, what is that? How does that taste? And they're like, I feel bad eating in front of you. I was like, no, no, no. You don't understand. Like, I enjoy watching people eat good food. Like,
Yeah.
because it gives me inspiration for when I do get to eat. It's like, oh yeah, I haven't tried that sauce mix. I'm gonna try that the next time. You know. So I get excited collecting recipes, watching people eat, and I can do that without needing to eat myself.
For sure. And it does something mentally where you feel sated almost. When I very first started fasting, one of the weird things that I noticed that I did, and I found out this is something like everybody does. Let's say if you're doing like, let's say 4 days or more of fasting, you're gonna watch cooking shows. You're gonna go on YouTube. You're gonna you're gonna watch cooking shows. And if you're thinking about changing your diet, you're gonna watch, like raw food or, whole food, plant-based, and you're gonna get so much inspiration. And from that experience, like I'm not saying I'm a world-class chef, but I get a lot of compliments on my food. Like I know how to blend my food well, different seasonings, like mustard, ground mustard. I never used that before. You know what I mean? It's like now I know how to use it. So it's a great experience. Let's look at like forward facing. So where do you want to go from here? I know you said you already kind of replicated the DR48, by yourself. Do you plan to do another challenge? Is there more weight that you want to lose? Are there some other health issues that you want to resolve? Or what would you like to do in the future coming up?
Yeah, for me, I definitely am interested in another challenge. I want to bring somebody with me though, like to kind of create that community. So if my sister wants to join or a couple of my other friends, then that would be kind of like a nice way for us to do it together. Where I am with my weight loss is that I've reached my scale goal.
Okay.
And it's interesting how that has shifted for me. Now, and like I said earlier, my weight, I have found and lost 50 pounds a couple of times and have done different things. And every time I did it, it was like, gripping to try and stay there because the protocol that I used to get there, I couldn't use to sustain it. So I had
Right.
and I didn't have the energy to learn something new. I just wanted the thing to keep working. Like, basically like calorie reduction was the thing. And that just didn't work. So what has happened for me with fasting is that I can continue to do what I'm doing and experience the results that I want to experience. And so that's my way forward with that. Yeah,
A lot of people look at fasting as this thing that you're doing, but I feel like this is a way of life. Like we're designed to fast. Like animals regularly fast. We're just living in a world where they teach you got to eat 3 to 6 times a day. That's unnatural.
right.
So
I think about my grandmother. It's like, did my grandmother eat 3 to 6 times a day? She didn't have time. Who was cooking that much? Who had that much food to cook? So how is all of a sudden a necessity for our bodies? Like, I just don't believe it.
Yeah. Consumerism exploded over the past 100 years with the industrial revolution and all the manufacturing, the superstores and the food supply chain and everything. Your grandmother probably had a garden or there was a local farm, like it was just normal. They're farmers. My grandfather was a gardener, and it was just normal. People had like it was more. I think it was more rare for you not to have a garden, even if it was just some tomatoes, And now it's like nobody has a garden. We don't even have fruit trees.
Yeah, it's wild. My father grew up in Tallahassee, Florida, and raised us in Philadelphia. And he turned our backyard into a garden. He rented a vacant lot a few blocks away from our house and had a huge garden. And, 2 blocks the other way was the grocery store. So my urban mindset was, why are you doing all that?
Right.
Now, but now that I keep a garden and have my hands in soil, and I see what comes when I'm working with nature,
Yeah.
I'm really grateful for that. I don't produce everything that I eat, but I produce enough. Like being able to just go out in my garden and grab some herbs and put them into my food it's like there's this connection that I didn't have before when I just went to the store and bought everything.
100%. And I think that fasting also helps you build that connection. Like when you were talking earlier about how you like watching people eat and you like getting inspiration. Fasting makes you mindful of what you eat. And for me, when I would do my long fast, I'm sitting here, I'm refeeding now, and I'm sitting here holding this avocado, and I'm peeling it, and I'm just so thankful for all of the energy and everything that went into producing the food. Whereas before, I would just scarf it down. I'm not even thinking twice, you know? So you just gain an appreciation for food, which I think helps with just, if you overeat or if you have like cravings, I think it helps when you're more mindful around food. But I really love the fact that you want to bring your friends and family with you. So we definitely got to get another challenge going so you can invite them.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
I'm not sure what's the next challenge we're going to do. I did say I'm going to poll the group, so I'll probably do that this week and just see, what people are talking about. We've got maybe like, I don't know, 5 or 6 different challenges now that we host. So we'll see. I thought about bringing that DR96 back. What do you think? You think you're ready for it now?
I could do it. I
Yeah.
could. Yeah.
Yeah.
The 4 days of dry fasting, it's not as daunting, and the sense of thirst, like at first it was like alarming, like, oh no, I can't drink. And then there was also this part of me that realized that I would pick up something to drink when I was fasting to keep that full feeling, to keep,
Mm,
to avoid whatever hard feeling or hard task I was trying to avoid. So I would just where I would use food before, then I would use water instead when I was fasting. But then with the dry fast, I had to see myself and
mm.
see how I was showing up and just sit with it. Like, I mean, I could have done something else, but I chose to sit with it. Just to, like, this is hard and I
Yeah.
don't like hard. So now, you know.
It's an empowering experience for sure. Like you did something that I mean in America, I mean I would say at least 80% of people are not fasting. Like at least.
And think it's weird.
Yeah, they think it's weird. Or they might do the intermittent fast, maybe like 16-hour thing. But once again, honestly at this point I look at that as just regular eating. Like, versus eating 3 to 6 times a day, you just eat in a window of a couple of hours once a day or whatever. I appreciate you coming on and sharing so much. I really appreciate your heart to help other people, bring people in. I know you're going to be an advocate for AHA, bringing in friends and family. Um, you seem to have a good balance on your interactions with them. You already know, like you can't force anybody. You just got to put the information out there. And I think that as they see you continue to progress, they're going to be very intrigued and it'll be like a gateway for them. So thank you. Was there anything else that you wanted to share with us before we wrap up?
Oh, wow. Just, I mean, just my gratitude for you not just doing the challenges, but just all of the information about fasting. Like I'm not a binge watcher of YouTube videos. Like I have that setting turned off on YouTube, but I will binge watch your videos, just
Oh, that's cool.
conversations, the education, because it reinforces how powerful this is and just how helpful it is. And just seeing people's journeys
Hmm.
has been really helpful. So thank you.
My pleasure. And thank you for sharing your journey because, it's a personal thing. A lot of people don't like to get on camera. I appreciate you sharing your beautiful smile with us today. If people want to get in touch with you, maybe they want to, do an accountability partner thing, you never know. How can people get in touch with you?
Yeah, there are a couple of different ways. So as a career, I'm a coach. So I
Okay.
do executive coaching and whatnot. I do coaching particularly with Black women who are looking to transform their lives. And so consulting Cozard is the name, consultingcozart.com, as well as my new YouTube channel, which is Selena Practicing Life, where I just talk about the things I do to explore and get curious and experience different things in life. And my partner and I are sound healers. We do sound baths for groups and individuals. And our IG handle is Sankofa_soundscapes.
Okay. Yeah, you're into the holistic wellness.
Absolutely.
I like that. Selena Doing Life is YouTube.
Practicing life. Yeah.
Practicing life. That's cool. I like that. All right. Well, we'll make sure to include that in the description box in the comment section so people can come find you. Hey, y'all, go check her out. I can tell by your energy that you have a great coaching spirit. Like I could just listening to you talk about how you interact with your friends and family. So I'm sure you're very good at what you do. So you guys make sure to go check her out. For all of you all watching, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, make sure to hit that thumbs up button. If you want to see more videos like this, subscribe, because I'm always bringing fresh content, testimonials, showing you guys what people are really experiencing in real life. And as always, the application of knowledge is power. And I'll see you all next time.